In this lesson, I'm going to discuss Lewis structures. Now, I'm presuming that you have discussed Lewis structures before and you've learned about them, so this is simply a review. So let's take, for example, something like sulfur trioxide. And if I want to do the Lewis structure of this molecule, what I first want to do is the electron inventory. So we do what's known as, well, technically the valence electron inventory. So I look at each element. So we have sulfur in here, and we have oxygen, and we have 1 sulfur and 3 oxygens. And in this, of the sulfur and the oxygen, what we want to look at is their valence electrons. So if we were to look at this periodic table, and we can see over here, here we have sulfur and oxygen on the far right. And if you were to just simply to count the number of columns over, we can determine the valence electrons. So in this case, you've got 1, 2, these 2 columns, and then we skip over the transition metals, and then we'd have 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so oxygen and sulfur both each have 6 valence electrons. So going back to our inventory, we'd multiply this one by 6 and also this one by 6. So that gives us, in this case, 6 here, 18 here. So we have a total then of 24 valence electrons that we get to work with. And it's easiest to distribute these valence electrons in pairs. So we're just going to split this in 2. So we have 12 pairs to work with. Now what we want to do is arrange our molecules. So we put sulfur in the middle and oxygen on 3 of the 4 so-called sides of this molecule. Now bear in mind, here they are shown at 90-degree angles here. Okay, they're all shown at 90-degree angles, but that is not the actual bond angle. That's something we're going to learn later on. So now what you want to do is you want to place those electrons in pairs around this so that we have an octet around each element. So we need 8 dots around each to form an octet. And I always suggest that you start first with the central atom. So I build my octet around my central atom here. So there's 8 dots or 4 pairs. There's 4 pairs, and then we just add in the others: 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I've put 12 dots around all 12 pairs down. So we have all 24 valence electrons shown now. So at this point, we can see that we have an octet around this oxygen atom right here. Okay, so I don't need to do anything more with that one. Same with this, I have an octet around this oxygen here. But this oxygen only has 6 dots, and so we need to increase that by 2. Now, what this shows is that, this shows is that a single bond here is not adequate. It doesn't give us the octet that we need for this oxygen atom. So what we'll do is we'll take these 2 electrons up here and just move them into the bond to form a double bond. So I'm going to take these 2 away. So I'll just erase these 2. And we put those 2 over here. And so we form a double bond. And so now we have an octet around this oxygen atom right here. Okay, and we also have now an octet, or still have our octet around our sulfur here. So in the end, now we have an octet around each element, which is what we were shooting for in the beginning.